what's up guys? DREAGEN here with
Ashley.
And we're doing another edition of the Kaiju Cataclysm. Today we're going to be talking about Godzilla, King of the Monsters, fresh off the release of the second trailer, which we did do a reaction for, so we'll go ahead and put a link in the description section below. We can kind of watch that and watch me basically have a...
Jizz your pants.
Yeah, have a good proper freak out over that. But anyway, again, this one's going to be kind of a short and sweet one because, again, we've kind of, this trailer pretty much confirmed a lot of what we were kind of speculating. And prior to its release, there was a lot of like plot synopsis stuff, a lot of information given by the director Gareth Edwards about the plot, the narrative, the kaiju themselves, or excuse me, the Titans, kind of what they represented, what they did. So the trailer was more or less just kind of a visual recognition of all that information. But with that said, it was a very, very satisfying visual recognition. And it's one thing to hear about it, and it's another thing to entirely to see it, and to see a lot of the classic iconography in like a modern film format was, in addition to just being really, really cool, also very, very surreal, because again, a lot of these kaiju, their visual components are very reminiscent of kind of their classic iterations, and yet to see them kind of in the modern age, it's like seeing someone come out of retirement, you know, with like a new look or like a makeover, while still very much looking like them. But yeah, no, the trailer, you know, was pretty much what we've seen before. Was a lot of shots of Rodan coming out of, you know, I think Rodan was kind of the star of this trailer. I know King Ghidorah has got a lot of people talking, but you saw a lot of shots of Rodan kind of coming out of the volcano.
Yeah.
He's really fucking big.
Yeah, they all are.
Well, they all are. But one of the interesting things about Rodan is that in the original film, Rodan, well, both of them actually die in the volcano. So it's interesting that in the original lore of Rodan, the volcano is that which kind of, you know, consumed Rodan, and it's now in this newer version. I like how Rodan is even being referred
from it.
Yeah, well, he's
so to speak.
So yeah, I think kind of the tagline, or like kind of the ancient saying from ancient culture goes with them, saying is like, you know, he who was born of fire. You know, so this idea of like, in the old incarnation, the volcano represent his demise, and in this new one, it's his birth. So where original Rodan fell, this new one rises from, which I really like, which also kind of feeds into like the whole phoenix metaphor. King Ghidorah looks
amazing.
Yeah, and looks like King Ghidorah. Not just because, oh, he's got 3 heads and wings, but he literally looks like
like an updated, more realistic version.
And, you know, and we've seen Toho, you know, not mess with or alter, but you know, like play around with the basic look a little bit throughout the different movies, so the eras.
Especially through the rebirth of Mothra.
Yeah, exactly. But usually, you know, he's always looked like King Ghidorah. And this iteration, you know, despite being rendered with CGI, he doesn't look like as that dramatic. Like the difference in his look here doesn't look any more dramatic than in the other iterations. Again, it's more or less just how he's being rendered and brought to life. Who else? Mothra, like we were saying, is the biggest. I don't want to say departure because that almost has a negative connotation, but she had the most liberties taken with her.
Most updated.
Yeah, and I think it's the nature of what she is. I mean, because she was a giant moth, you know, they couldn't really do an actor in a suit, so she was always kind of like a large kind of puppet. Yeah, that they would kind of have hanging from like, you know, the rafters of the set where they would make her move around like that. So to have her fight an actor in a suit who can, you know, move around because it's a person inside, it was much harder to kind of convey her as a combatant for Godzilla or other kaiju, because all they could really do is just kind of have her land on them and just kind of make it look like, and then it would be up to the actor in the other suit to kind of look like, oh, she's got me, when in actuality they're just resting on her. Yeah, and so it's like, you know, damn. Or they would do things where she would have her wings flap, and she would kind of do that almost like that fairy dust. That usually was like kind of her last ditch move.
Yeah.
But for this move, they wanted to kind of really get in the fight, and because they're using CGI, they're no longer bound by physical limitations. So they kind of reworked her anatomy to look like she can kind of get into it. She has now almost like these big praying mantis like front limbs where she can kind of just get in there.
I don't know if there's a couple of suits that they made them a little bigger, but yeah, most of the time her legs were like me.
Yeah, where now she looks like she can get in there, maybe start start throwing jabs and some hooks, get up in Godzilla's grill and be like, oh, what's up with that? The other thing I noticed about her design too, and something that Michael Dougherty said at Tokyo Comic Con, that if you look at it, like moths in nature, they'll have like what looks like an eye on each wing, and it's to kind of usually represent like a bird, so the kind of
ward off predators.
Yeah, so if something else just kind of is looking up briefly and sees them against maybe a backdrop of natural camouflage, the only thing they'll really notice right off the bat will be like the two big eyes, and their first thought will be like, oh, that's a hawk or that's an owl, and they'll run away. And when he explained that the two big red eyes you see on her wings are actually Godzilla's eyes, so it's kind of like the kaiju equivalent. Like if Godzilla is this alpha predator, well, she's going to try to make herself look like him to kind of protect herself from something else. So they kind of look up at her real quick in the sky, and she's at the right eye level or height. They're going to think, oh shit, Godzilla, and kind of, be afraid. So I like how you kind of work in like something natural with her. Godzilla, again, pretty much looks like the 2014 iteration we already set. The spines are taken from more of the 54 design, and the feet are a little bit elongated, and the tail's a little short. It doesn't go to that really fine point anymore. It's more rounded off, which I kind of prefer. It always seemed kind of weird that he has this big hulking frame, but his tail goes to this very thin little wispy thing. I've always felt it kind of, it wasn't terrible, I just felt it was kind of a weird, stylistic.
Unbalanced.
Yeah, and I just felt his tail was kind of unnecessarily long. Then again, I say that, and then we look at
Shin.
Yeah, look at Shin, he's like another Godzilla and a half sticking out of his ass, basically, worth of tail.
Gross.
Yeah, gross. But now, we saw something else, and this is something we kind of wanted to wait to talk more in this video about. Michael Dougherty did say that, these four kind of classic kaiju were not going to be the only ones in the movie. There were going to be others. This is a world that's being overtaken by monsters. And in the trailer, there's one point where Sally Hawkins says they're appearing all over the world, and they're all battling for supremacy to kind of, be another alpha predator against Godzilla. And she was referring to others other than just the other three, because you see in the trailer what looks almost like these big
spidery, crabby, insecty legs come out
of the ground, and then another large, like almost shell-like thing.
I know. In the thing, I was like, "Is that Anguirus?"
I know, and that's the thing about that. We actually don't know if, when he said that, if these are original kaiju that they just made up or licensed ones. So. Because if they're going to do Anguirus or Kumonga, which is the big spider from Son of Godzilla and Final Wars, that's the thing, they're going to have to pay for those. Because, again, just like they did with Godzilla.
Even though, let's be real, if they were going to pay for them, they wouldn't probably be nearly as much as the other ones. But
no, I mean, they definitely won't. But at the same time, how much do they have left in the budget? Because they just paid for probably four of the most expensive... kaiju, Godzilla's not fighting King Caesar in this movie. He's fighting King Ghidorah. So it's like, oh shit, that probably, that came with a price tag, I'm sure. But then again, hey, if you're going to do it, go for broke, right?
Well, and I'm sure after the reception the first one got, Toho was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. But at the same time, if they are going to add extra, because here's the thing, too. We don't know if all of these kaiju are going to survive this film. We don't know how it's going to go. We don't know beyond Kong in the third film, like how, what's the situation going to be. So they could be adding other kaiju in this film, original one, as cannon fodder. Because if Godzilla is going to be defending his crown in this movie, I kind of think that before he gets to King Ghidorah, he's basically going to be, just, going through all these contenders, or several contenders. I don't think they're going to kill off Mothra or Rodan right away. It's too big of a deal for these guys to be taken. Maybe
Mothra won't die.
Maybe. Well, even if she does, she always fucking comes back. She's like Jason Voorhees. It doesn't matter. They always die, and then the next movie is like, I'm back. It's like, oh, okay. But I kind of feel like even if they are going to have fights to the death, they're going to want to make those fights special, and I kind of hope that they don't just leave them. I mean, the only times we ever see Rodan is in some of those earlier scenes where he's just coming out of the volcano. So my only fear is that because we only keep seeing those scenes, man, is Rodan are they gonna pull a Bryan Cranston and we're like, Rodan's not gonna die that early in the movie, and then you're gonna think back to all the shots in the trailers, like, oh shit, we've literally seen every scene from the trailer. Fuck, Rodan's gonna die.
Yeah.
And he's gonna be lying there, and Mothra's gonna be looking at him, and he's like, protect your family at all costs.
It was quick, but I'm pretty sure we saw larva form Mothra.
Yeah, that scene where they have her kind of in that...
And especially
gray...
because we see the scene where it's like really light and the wings are going out. I'm assuming that's when she transforms.
So that's the thing. I think Mothra is probably going to...
Come in a little later and start out as a larva.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, too. That the scene where you see Godzilla and King Ghidorah squaring off, I'm pretty sure that's the end of the movie.
Yeah.
And you see that scene where Mothra is, like, there, or, you know, like her luminescent is on her wings, and it's in a dark and stormy area. So I think, I get the sense that she and Godzilla are going to team up. So whether Godzilla ends up killing Rodan, or maybe Rodan dies like King Ghidorah, like maybe Rodan is like King Ghidorah's first like victim.
Yeah.
Because if they're all vying for control, like maybe these two are like, because you know if Mothra is going to start off in a larval form, I feel like then for a while Rodan and Ghidorah are going to be the only ones in the skies. Mm-hmm. So I think these two are going to kind of clash, and I think Ghidorah is honestly probably going to kill Rodan.
Yeah.
And Rodan will be the first volley, and then Mothra will go into her cocoon and reemerge as the butterfly. And I think her and Godzilla are going to have to team up.
Yeah.
Because again, they've already said that Mothra is the queen of the monsters, and that she is a goddess and a benevolent figure. So she's not going to be just a monster that is called Mothra and looks like a moth. She is going to embody that which she has traditionally embodied. So I like that they're doing that. And Godzilla's always kind of the linchpin. He's not good, he's not evil, and usually Mothra is always kind of trying to steer him in the right direction with like, hey, you know, and I kind of feel like that's what's going to be happening here. Ghidorah is just, he's out for blood, and Godzilla just wants to just to fight for, or just the sake of fighting him, and I think Mothra is going to be the one who kind of like, wants Godzilla to fight, but kind of wants Godzilla to fight for more, not just selfish reasons, because it looks like Godzilla is sentient in this film, which I'm happy about, and has a connection with some of the humans in this film, because you see this scene where it looks like, I'm assuming Millie Bobby Brown walking up to him. Somebody's walking up to him, like, and it looks like
fucking lava temple or whatever.
Yeah, and it looks like maybe that's after Godzilla got his ass kicked too. That might have been after.
Again, either that, or I think it might be maybe that's where he went after the events of the last movie.
We don't know, but the fact that there's a human being walking, acknowledging, and I get, and there's a scene with, which I hope isn't just clever editing, but where Millie Bobby Brown asked, is he going to be okay? My only fear is that they edited the trailer to make it look like that, but she's maybe talking about her dad or something. Yeah. Like, is he going to be okay? But I would love that to be Godzilla, because then that gives me hope for Godzilla versus Kong, which we're not going to go too deep in because we talked about in the last Cataclysm, but what I was always saying, I don't want Godzilla to just be the villain just because whenever you pit something with scale against something with fur. Because it has fur, it has to be the good guy on the scale if he is automatically defaulted to the villain.
Hey, look at Mothra. She's got powder.
Yeah, she's got powder. But she's always a good guy. That's the thing. And look at her, like, evil bastard twin, Batra. All armored and...
Batra was badass.
Yeah, but because Batra looked badass, Batra was automatically evil. Except for the end. But...
I'm gonna say.
But at the same time, it's like, okay... I liking that they're still setting this up, looks like, as Godzilla's not the villain.
Well, and I like how they even say in this trailer, like, we don't know which Titans are with us and which are against us, essentially.
Yeah, and I think in this one, you very much have Titans that are very much good. Like Mothra, I think Mothra is good.
For sure, yeah.
And Ghidorah is just like, you know, death with wings. He's like, I'm gonna fucking kill everyone. And I get the feeling that maybe Rodan and Godzilla are... Godzilla for sure, but I think Rodan and Godzilla might be... Like in the original film, Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster, where Ghidorah was coming to destroy the world, and Mothra was trying to get Godzilla and Rodan to stop beefing, because those two were like fighting in that film. They were beefing with each other. And Mothra was basically saying, listen, you guys gotta cut the shit, because there is someone coming who's gonna whoop both your asses if you guys take him on one by one. Mm-hmm. And he's going to destroy humanity. And Godzilla and Rodan are like... And that was the first time we actually really kind of saw the characterization of these characters and realized that, oh yeah, they're thinking creatures. And Godzilla was like, we don't care about humanity. Meaning Godzilla is aware of humanity and just doesn't give a shit. And she's saying, you need them because without... You know, this is their world too. You share this world with them and you guys have a common enemy now. The Ghidorah will kill you and humanity. He doesn't see you as any different. And kind of the way, like, we're all equal in Godzilla's eyes. Yeah. To Ghidorah, Godzilla and humanity are, like, in the interchangeable. He does not care. Yeah. He just doesn't see... He doesn't see one as any more valid than the other. He will wipe the kaiju out. He will wipe humanity out. Does not care. So Mothra is basically saying, here's a guy who gives even less of a shit about you than you probably do humanity. you guys all need to team up together and take him down. Otherwise, you're all going down. And I get a sense it's more or less, maybe not as directly in this film, but I get a sense that's going to be kind of the driving force in this film. It's like Mothra is this kind of unifying force. She has a connection with humanity because they've already said that she's going to have a connection with Millie Bobby Brown. Because they apparently, I mean, the twins don't appear to be in this film, which traditionally Mothra has two little twin fairies with her that are either literal twin fairies or sometimes kind of astral projections of herself, but they always come in the form as these two little girls that are twins, and they speak in unison, or essentially they speak for Mothra. That's how she kind of communicates with us. So, you know, there's it's more like an ambassador, where it kind of get the feeling that it's going to be Millie Bobby Brown taking their place, where she kind of will communicate through a human being, kind of her will, her intention. So you don't have a weird giant moth trying to do hand gestures, you know, like me, good, you know, Ghidorah, bad, you know, like, you know, she's gonna. So I get the sense that Mothra is trying to, you know, get Godzilla to kind of like fight for what's right. And I think he's going to get his ass kicked the first time he fights Ghidorah. I think he's going to get his ass handed to him, and I think that's what that temple scene is. He just, you know, again, he's Adonis Creed, goes up to Victor Creed the first time, you know, I'm going to rewrite history. I'm going to, you know, beat up the son of the guy who killed my dad in the ring. And then, you know, Victor goes, boom,
Spoilers!
Yeah, spoilers. Knocks his ass out stupid, okay? And then goes to that weird rehabilitation process where he has to not just learn how to fight again, but get his nerve back, because he was this unstoppable fighter, and he just got his ass kicked, and his spirit was broken. And I kind of get a sense that that's Godzilla in that temple. It's him just going, man, I got my ass kicked, like, bad. And Mothra's going to be like, okay. She's going to be like his Mickey, the Rocky. Like, get up! One more round! You gotta trap lightning! You know, like that whole thing. Like, that's just going to be his Mickey. I love it. You know, that's how I'm picturing it happen. In my head, that's Mothra's voice.
Gross.
But yeah, gross. But yeah, so I don't know. I get the sense that that's kind of the vibe they're going with, which I like, because the 2014, and again, we've said it before, I really, really love that movie. Is it perfect? No. Is it my favorite Godzilla movie? No. Is it on my top 5 list of favorite Godzilla movies? No. But, you know, in an age where a lot of people are wondering, a Godzilla movie, is that going to be commercially viable?
Yeah.
Are people going to accept that, or is a giant radioactive dinosaur just a little too much for people to swallow? Even though it's kind of like, look at Marvel movies now, man. Like, they can buy that. But, okay, it was still a gamble. But they played it pretty safe, you know, and they proved, okay, you can do Godzilla, and people will accept kaiju. They'll accept giant monsters. So I'm glad that now that they're like, okay, we got that. This movie literally just looks like classic. Oh, no. It's like classic Showa era. I mean, and even you see the ships they're flying, if you look closely, they're not normal jets. They're like these weird futury.
Is it G-Force?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I forget. This is like 5 years after 2014 in the world.
So theoretically, it could be G-Force.
Well, it's almost like the cat's out of the bag and giant monsters have returned. So it's almost like I feel like the world now, it's kind of like a little bit like Pacific Rim, where they're not building Jaegers, but the idea of like, okay, kaiju exists. Well, we have to build something new to combat them. So this is kind of a more realistic take, where instead of building giant robots, they would probably just kind of build new versions of weapons we have. Yeah. So we use jets. Well, these are going to be like special jets. So we might see the maser cannons, you know, and all their glorious, you know, ineffectuality. But they sure as hell look cool, but they won't do a goddamn thing. But they look cool. But that kind of technology where, you know, you look at some of the Godzilla films with them and you think, oh, it's kind of unrealistic. But if you realize, if you live in a world where Godzilla exists, you're going to, the government is going to dump all kinds of money into, like, you know, defense.
Well, essentially, it'd be like, treat like another natural disaster relief sort of thing.
Well, yeah,
prevention.
Well, exactly. So, you know, if this had been, so it kind of works out in the sense like 2014 is going to look almost unbalancedly realistic, but at that time the world as a whole didn't know.
They were ignorant,
and the government essentially really hadn't dealt with them since technically the events of Skull Island, which were relegated to Skull Island, and the creatures on Skull Island at the time weren't that big. I mean, they weren't so big and so strong where you would need space-age jets, you know, like, I mean, I know Kong's going to be bigger and stronger now, but at the time it was kind of like, okay, I mean, he got his arm cut by like a helicopter blade, so he wasn't then this super massive, all powerful thing. So
Yeah.
now, though, after what happened in San Francisco, it's like, yeah, I mean, and again, this Godzilla took a nuke to the face, so it's not unrealistic to think that the governments are going to be like, hey, we're going to start spending a whole bunch of money in our defense funds and like outside weapons contractors and start start building us X-wings and TIE fighters because damn. But yeah, I mean, again, so I like how they're going all out with this. 2014 was very realistic. Shin, which came out 2 years later, I know not part of this continuity, but visually speaking, also very realistic. Yeah. So I love those kinds of Godzilla films, but the Godzilla franchise is a lot of different things. So I want it to be balanced.
And the thing is, I think it's going to be kind of interesting because in a way, I mean, I think they're still going to treat this movie realistically, but I mean, obviously fantastical events happen, like the first in 2014, but it's like pushed to the next degree in terms of like...
Because this is now a world post those events.
I think they're still going to treat it the same way. It's just...
Well, it's because now people know that giant monsters exist, where in the first film, everyone just kind of was caught off guard and kind of shell-shocked. But now it's like, okay, these are real, so bring on the space jets because, shit, giant monsters are real. So, yeah, I like how we've got a couple kind of down and dirty, realistic Godzilla films, and now we're going to kind of balance out with a bit more late Showa-esque kind of Godzilla. But they're taking fantastical elements, but they're still treating them seriously.
Well, that's what I mean.
So it's a nice balance.
It's not going to be like
silly
campy,
about it. Yeah, it's not going to be like Godzilla versus Megalon, which I love that movie unapologetically, and I will defend that movie with my dying breath. That has got one of the most brutal fights, not just kaiju fights, one of the most brutal fight scenes of any fucking movie. But the tone of it was still very light and campy. But I like how they're taking a more fantastical tone.
Look at like Ghidorah. That was serious, but also extremely fucking weird.
Yeah, weird is the appropriate adjective for that movie. Yeah. But again, love that movie. But again, that's the thing. So they're taking more fantastical elements, but they're not apologizing for it. It doesn't look they're turning to the camera and going, wink, wink, this is dumb, right? No, they're like, hey, guess what? Giant monsters exist, so we got space jets, we got a G-Force kind of thing, we got all... Hey, welcome to our world. Deal with it.
M-Force because of Monarch?
I mean, I guess we'll just call it Monarch. And then there's the whole other secret organization that apparently, what's his face, who plays one of the Lannisters?
Charles Dance?
Charles Dance, which, I grew up with him, seeing him in Alien 3, The Golden Child. Very good actor. So when I heard he was in this movie, I was like... and a lot of speculation that he might be playing Tom Hiddleston's character from Skull Island, because they're saying that a character, not one of the actors, but a character from Skull Island will be in this film.
I feel like it would fit.
So realistically, if you look at his age versus Tom Hiddleston, I'm like, it's been what, like over 40 years about that? Yeah, it'd be about...
I'm assuming it takes place now.
Yeah, so it would look about age-wise. So, and he's like a white British guy. Okay, so that's... I mean, there's no confirmation of that, but, I mean, that's kind of my fan theory at the moment. But yeah, that's really kind of it. I mean, like I said, it's going to be kind of a short and sweet one, and it's more or less just kind of us expanding upon what we talked a little bit about in the trailer reaction, just kind of me being a lot more calm and collective for part of it. But yeah, I wanted to, in this one, to kind of talk about more like, okay, more of the speculative stuff. Like, again, the trailer confirmed a lot of what had already been said and kind of just topped it off with like the visual elements of seeing what these guys look like, how they behave, and kind of more or less the tone. Again, I liked how this trailer was like, okay, you got your ooh, you got your ah, we dazzled with the first one, good. You guys on board? All right, now roll up your sleeves, it's time to get dirty because this is going to be a fucking brawl. So I like that, and I'm willing to bet there's going to be like a mid-credit or post-credit sequence with Kong somehow.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, it's like, he's there somewhere. So
well, he's on Skull Island, and Monarch has been monitoring him this whole time, so it's like, it's funny, they've been... Again, 2014 was made before they knew they were going to use Kong. So in 2014, they made it sound like, we saw Godzilla once, years ago, and we started this organization, but we've never found any other monsters. Where apparently during that whole time, there's an island with a giant ape.
Maybe that was just a super secret, sector of Monarch.
Maybe, but I'm just saying. Meanwhile, they knew about a giant ape the entire time. Yes. But again, it's one of those things where that's fine. Because they didn't say it, you can just chalk it up to out of sight, out of mind. But yeah, no. So again, it's interesting. I'm curious how they're going to bring Kong in, and this idea of like not controlling Godzilla, but this whole idea of like we're going to get Godzilla on our side. I want to know more about how they're going to do that, because there's this technology where Millie Bobby Brown's mom apparently can kind of try to communicate with the kaiju somehow, and I think that's going to play into it. So again, I'm wondering if someone is going to try to manipulate and twist Kong into becoming, because again, if they get Godzilla to destroy the other monsters, okay, you're still stuck with Godzilla.
Yeah.
So who's going to get rid of Godzilla? And I think, okay, that's their plan. They're going to try to control Kong, because Godzilla can't be controlled, but we can control Kong, maybe. Then maybe that's when gets Kong's Achilles heel, that he can be controlled. So they're going to try to twist and warp him into like a weapon against Godzilla, and that's how you're going to get them to kind of clash. But anyway, that's just speculation, and we'll find that out not too long after this movie, because it comes out in 2020. But anyway, yeah, that's really it for this one. I mean, again, short and sweet, just kind of just expand more upon our thoughts on this movie. And now that the marketing for this movie is literally just in high gear.
Yeah.
This won't be the last trailer, and they'll start doing trailer TV spots and like special behind the scenes on YouTube, and we'll be breaking all this stuff down and talking much, much more about this movie. So as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. Please be sure and check us out on Patreon if you like what we do here. Kind of help support us, so we kind of keep this going, and we have some exclusive stuff on there for all of you, very generous donors. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching, and as always, we'll catch you in the next one. Peace!
Peace.